Everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of the Inworld Review. This is a program where we look at all things open simulator and hypergriddy and stuff like that. Arts, destinations, and anything else you throw at us, really. And it's I've gone forgotten it already. No, 23rd, isn't
hmm
it?
hmm
Not quite in November yet, but getting near. 23rd of October. So, yeah, the time just flies. We'll be looking at a few web posts, a few news items, and we'll be talking over some film from last week's safari, and we'll also have our special guest in the studio here, which I will introduce you in just a second, in fact. So, joining me here, my name is Mal Burns, by the way. Did I say this or didn't I? I've forgotten, so I'll say it again.
hmm
I'm joined by James Atlloud, my partner in the show here, who does all the fiddling and knobs, like pictures, audio, desktops, everything gets blended together so that we're a bit more than talking heads. Welcome, James.
Well, thank you, Mal. I'm here with an appropriation from the last safari. My elegant
Indeed, you
Gandalf
have.
Gandalf wizard hat. Very happy with it.
Yes, James the Gandalf. Or the,
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
think I picked up an avatar of Gandalf from somewhere. I haven't tried it
yeah,
on yet,
yeah.
mind you. Yeah. Well, also joining me, of course, is the lead lady, as it were, from Safari itself and many other things. It's Thirza Ember, officially my co-host these days. So welcome,
Oh,
Thirza.
thank you, Mal. Thank you. And I'm proudly hat free this week.
Right, yes. Well, who can say? I need a change of hat, but you never catch me without a hat. The problem is getting rid of the mask because it's hiding my lips. But then again, my lips aren't working, so that's why they're hidden. Okay, and we're also joined. Our special guest this week is Ernest Moncrieff. And I'll have you, Thursday, introduce you a bit more fully later. But welcome, Ernest.
Thank you very much for having me, Mal. It's good to be here.
And your sort of partner in crime, so to speak, Ellie, isn't it? She can't be Ellen rather. She's actually in Japan, so this is a typical thing that shows just how wide-ranging the hypergrid is. You know, you can have two people working on the very same project, and they're both at totally opposite ends of the world. But we won't be missing her, but per se, because we've actually filmed two interview sections with Ellen, which will be shown strategically between when Ernest is talking, if you see what I mean. So it'd be like having the two of them here in a roundabout way that Thurston and I concocted, basically. Right, okay. So the first thing I'm going to do on my screen here, we're just going to share a couple of web pages. The first one is hypergridbusiness.com. That's hypergridbusiness.com. And there's two from them this week, actually. The first one here, October 16th, is Maria Korolev talking about open sim prices and new regions and everything. Despite the headlines, you tend to get quite a lot of bits and pieces listed in Hypergrid Business posts. Not always just the thing in the title. But basically, her announcement here is that OpenSim prices have dropped to the lowest average ever, which is under $13 per month. Now, that is, remember, an average. There are many regions where you can, people will actually literally give you a house to live in for, just to be part of a community. Um, and there are many non-commercial grids, and there are many more commercial grids, and they're all linked on the hypergrid. So, you know, user statistics are always not as straightforward as, say, Second Life, where you know everything is much of an ilk. You know, there's a lot more flexibility in the arrangements with OpenSim. But anyway, it does seem that prices for people looking to get regions and stuff is coming down. And given that the cost of living is going up all over the planet, something coming down is actually probably even better than just staying the same would be remarkable. So coming down, that's a good sign indeed. I rather think. And what else? I think I've got another. I think I've got. Oh yeah, another. No, that's not the one. Uh, Okay, well we'll come to other stuff as we go. I'll get rid of that one for now. Now we also have various posts from Thirza herself, so no doubt you can comment on these as we go. The last two, creative mode and another one from earlier, aren't actually. They're not about current safaris; they're just supplement to Safari in general. So maybe you want to tell us a little about the creative mode, Laurie Destiny.
Sure, yeah, be glad to. So, yesterday evening was an event that we actually publicized last week, and that was the fashion show by the German grids, in which it was Laura Destiny, great friend of the Safari. She organized it, and that's a picture of her you see right there. And what she did was she brought together seven people who make clothes in OpenSim and make them for free, and she organized a fashion show. So these are all German speakers. As we all know, there's a huge German population in OpenSim, and they had the big event yesterday. I didn't get to see all of it because we still have flu at our house, but they had 65 people on the sim. Sorry, 64. I don't want to exaggerate, but I got to the after party, and it was it was amazing. Spike, our good friend Spike Sol, did the comparing for the event, and yeah, you had Clarabella, you had Levane, Vivian, Dorina, of course, and lots of famous names popping up there from the German community. And so I just popped a little article in there with a gif of them dancing. It was a great event, and of course all the clothes are free, which is always nice when you
Yeah,
see
yeah.
people making things for the community.
Yeah, some lovely costumes there that would cost you a fortune in certain other platforms.
Yeah, and all the clothes will be available in the next few days. Obviously,
Oh,
it
right.
was a huge event to organise, but in the next few days they'll all be popping up, and we'll have some more publicity about that.
Great. Okay, so moving on to a couple of other, I'll be back with another couple of yours shortly. Um, moving down here. Um, this is a YouTube video, Halloween movie Gentle Fire Grid. So it's an episode grid called the Gentle Fire Grid. I know very little about it, but I do have this video to show or to relay to you for a couple of minutes from. Yes, I was wondering where the audio had gone to. It's here. Okay, have you heard of Gentle Fire Grid, Thurza?
Sure, yes, and I think I've been there maybe once. There's so many places to get to, so but definitely a place to visit with that kind of beautiful work going on. Definitely love it. Emily.
Right. Okay, sorry, I had to turn up the volume on that video, and subsequently, when you came in just now, you blasted my head off. But
Oh, I'm sorry.
the viewers at home will not have noticed, put it that way. Right, yeah. So I was pretty sure I had, but I couldn't quite click. It's interesting. There have been quite a few. Obviously, Halloween being just a week away, the real thing. There's accumulation of videos of, especially in places like Second Life, where they've built endless simulators of Halloween things. But they all have one characteristic, and that is they all get very dark. So when I show them, I think, is this really worth showing? Because
Very gloomy.
Yeah, that was very
that's
dark.
true.
yeah, I
You have
remember.
to raise the gamma. That's the only way around it. To raise the gamma on your graphics. Otherwise, people can't see what you're looking at.
Yeah,
It's true.
and then you've got to put it down again later. Yeah, it's on the fly. See what happened when I did it with the sound. But yeah, it reminds me of the what's Game of Thrones, the final season of that. Apart from it being directly inconsistent with the previous ones, there's a hell of a lot of criticism that it was still, these battles at night and stuff. They might as well not have happened. You couldn't see them. There's
It's a
one
bunch
whole
of torches instead of dragons.
Right,
They
right.
could just run out there.
Yeah, there was one episode that was so dark. I mean, we were just sitting there. I had Tara at the other end of my former partner and at the other end of the line. He said, "Brian, can you alter the brightness? There's something wrong. There's something wrong." And I said, "No, there's nothing wrong. It's just a bad episode." Anyway, moving on. So, yeah, we excuse the darkness of Halloween, shall I say. Right, moving down, Hypergrid Business again. Have another post here by Mary Stoll, a freelance editor, contributor, I guess, talking about virtual merchants in OpenSim. Not much on the picture front here, but
Probably couldn't afford them.
yeah, I'm just going to quickly twitch through. Yeah, this is what the actual website looks like. So there are some pictures here. Yeah. But basically, looking at Cake and Magic, of course, very good there for products. Yeah, looking at sort of business and creativity in there. So nice, unusual sort of post for Hypergrid Business there. So Hypergrid and then business, but squashed together into one word for that. Right, so remove that one. Remove creative mode for now. And remove gentle fire, just organising as I go. Okay, now this is one of the safaris from during the week, and it's two roundups. I got Thirza's own coming up in a minute, but this is Austin Tate's blog, and he's like Thirza's. He's done from one for Hobbiton and one for Elvenwood as well. So there's not much to it. It's some pictures, but they are very nice pictures, and we've seen quite a few pictures in there anyway. But you can see what we've got there, and the address. Well, I've got it on screen actually. Oh, hang on. No, well, actually, if you can see it, the address we went to is outworlds with a Z.com, port 9000, and the region was called Hobbiton. And if you think that has something to do with the Hobbits, you might not be wholly mistaken. So actually, I'll leave that for now because it's rather than click on all these pictures and mount them, you can sort of pop along here. Austin's site is called blog.inf.ed.ac.uk. It's an academic site and the blog within it, so it's not the easiest of ills to bring out. But if you follow my Twitter feed at twitter.com/MetaWorldNews, that's 2 words squashed, all these links I'm showing you on the screen here are available there, so you can just click through to get to them. So the same site, Austin again. The second place we stopped on safari was Elvenwood. Which is a West Lorien themed region by Roland Francis, and again a whole range of pictures, and very nicely, no coincidence of course was it, there's both of these regions had a kind of similarity to each other in some ways. That it made it feel like they were both great regions for wandering around and exploring. You know, sort of they could almost have been joined at the hip somewhere. Not quite sure where, but somewhere. Right. So there we are. Right now, this is a site here called Big Metaverse Co. UK, BigMetaverse.co.uk, and interesting post. Libraries in virtual worlds. It sort of covers quite a lot. It covers Second Life, for example, but it also the Alliance Library people. They're in OpenSim as well. There are some. I think we've actually been to a couple of libraries, haven't we? On Safari.
We have, yeah.
Um,
We're going to
so
hear about the Art Factory Library too later on.
yes, which we'll be seeing in its glorious wonder shortly. Can I then grab it? Oh yeah, Digital Sisters in Kitely, which of course is actually where we're filming from. One of our broadcast studios is here, and we're in it now. St. Chai Library, a lot here. And so it's just really a roundup of libraries. It's not just OpenSim, of course, but most of the people involved with these things tend to be connected. I mean, there's
Fascinating.
Val
That's good to know.
Librarian. Val Librarian, for example, was very big on all the Second Life ones, but she's equally prominent here on OpenSim as well. So yeah, not exactly profusely illustrated. At least I don't think it is. Let's have a look at the. Oh, actually, that's the view I was meant to be showing. Yeah, the reader view. Yeah, and I don't know anything much about this particular site, but I've grabbed a feed for it in case anything else useful comes up there. So they're called bigmetaverse.co.uk, which means
Good to know.
that means they're here in Britain too. Yes, indeed. Right, so moving on down the list, so to speak, and now we're coming to HG Safari, blogspot.com again. So this is Thirza's blog for the Safari, hgsafari.blogspot.com. And it's, as a blog, it's pretty much dedicated. We feature them all here, but it's pretty much dedicated to Safari and OpenSim. So no worries about what page you land on, really. You can find everything pretty easily. This was actually the second of the stops in the week, wasn't it?
That's right.
There's a little bit about it, bearing in mind we've got plenty of film to talk over in a while anyway.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's we went to see Roland and we went to see Fred, and the reason for it this week was because this is the 55th anniversary of the publication of the final volume of The Lord of the Rings, which is The Return of the King. So people finally had the whole 3-volume series this week 55 years ago. So that's why we chose 2 Lord of the Rings places. I thought quite incredibly, as you said, similar, but at the same time different, because they're built by different people, and yet there's something so harmonious about the style of the architecture that they went together really well. And we tried to focus mostly on Hobbiton in the first part, and then mostly on the elves in the second part. That seemed to make sense. So even though we went to Rivendell in the second part, we were in the first part we weren't there for very long because we knew this was coming up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you want to read more about it on the blog here, then as I say, this is hgsafari.blogspot.com, and we're on the same site here now for what was the first part of the tour, which was Hobbiton, or Creature of Hobbit. Very good headlines you got with those.
Gotta be a pun.
Creature of Hobbit, you are. Sorry. Yeah, we'll be looking again at this a bit later, but if there's anything you want to add here quickly now.
I think it pretty much speaks for itself. Another build by Ferd and his team. He didn't actually build it originally. He bought it from somebody, and it's a build that people who have a Dream Grid can get for free. It's an exclusive just for people who adopt a Dream Grid, which is his system of basically you can have a grid on your own computer. That's the basic idea behind it. And so this is like a gift for them, a sort of boost to get them going and having a beautiful place to use on the grid without having to build from scratch, because there's can sometimes be a bit daunting when you finally get your own sim and there it is, just this flat
Yeah.
piece of grass. Well, you don't have to. You can have immediate builds and that you can enjoy, and then you don't have to have it open all the time. You can change and swap out and use something else. So it's a gift from Ferd to the whole community, really.
There's one lovely thing about your blogs here, which we don't get when I'm just showing other more detailed stuff. Maybe is that you normally have a fairly complete transcript of conversation that happens.
Yeah, not this week. I was sick, so it just didn't
Yeah,
happen.
well, even so, you've got a little bit there, which is
Well, I
what
tried to
reminded
put people.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
The
everybody
other
contributes, and I don't want it just to be about me. It's about everybody who came on the trip.
it
So.
comes on them too. Yeah. And I must say, both of these sims, they also remind me of an Inworld, or Outworld, sorry, build I had myself, which is 5x5 of our region. And, in the end, I did it all myself. But I mean, that kind of landscape, I mean, without the literary references, of course, is something I love. So, it's just having trees and nice ground and hills and valleys and bumpy bits. It just feels like
Absolutely.
natural. It's not like a flat, trim
No,
face.
and if you actually go there, you'll find there's another build that is Rohan with the city on the plateau with the horses, and then there's another one that is the Mirkwood, which is this huge forest, and then there's I can't remember what's it called, the castle of the bad guy. Anyway, Orthanc. That's in there. So we only saw Hobbiton and we saw a little bit of Rivendell, but there was actually 4 other Sims in the same theme that we didn't look at all. So there's plenty more to see, and if you have a dream grid, plenty more to choose from.
Okay, I'm jumping on to the last one I've got for you this year. This isn't actually a visit. This is an article, isn't it? Our cave grave.
Yeah, I went over to Carnival where Debici and Kelso have their Halloween build. So it's hugely fun. Even if you don't particularly like Halloween, it's fun to do. There they are. It's a photo of them, and they've used some of the sort of classic things that they have most years in their Halloween build, but then there's a bunch of new stuff. So it's just massive fun. And on top of the usual sort of Halloween walkabout, there's a proper hunt as well, which is a separate part of the build. And so you can do both. And it opened today, so time to go and see it.
Yeah, well, here we have a little exclusive preview.
Yeah.
That is,
Well, I was useless at it, of course. As
you're
usual.
wondering what to do
But had fun looking.
after this show, then this is the place to go. Right, okay, moving on. MetaversePeers.com, another recently news site. This is the Standalone Community Library, where we have also been fairly recently, but this is the actual, it's a bit corny from Lexina Proctor. Grand opening of library was grand. I think she needs you to write the headlines. That is so
I don't think so.
anyway, there's a nice big shot of the Centerlone, or part of the Centerlone Library. It had its grand opening on Sunday 16th, which was while we were on air, I guess, last week. I think we were mentioning it. And, it's just a roundup, the early birds to arrive, who turned up, and the board of directors, Alexina Snoops and Prax, and etc., and a link to a video there that's actually on Facebook. So my browser will probably go bananas if I click on something saying Facebook, so I better not. But anyway, you'll find this at metaversepeers.com, metaversepeers.com. And back to YouTube again. This is the Sky Mill Village, and I should point out that this is not Open Sim, it's Science Space.
Today we're going to explore the Sky Mill Village.
Trying to talk over it. This is actually a promo film from Science Space, although Science Space is actually run by Adam Frisby, of course, who's one of the founders of OpenSim. So we have a lot of close connections there, so to speak. But this is their Halloween effort, so I thought I'd just stick it in here. It's the most appropriate program for it, really.
Say they have witnessed paranormal phenomena. Let's walk around and see if we can get some interesting shots. Hey, are you a resident here? You know what you're talking about. This town is so weird. There are scarecrows and eyes all over the place. Excuse me, I think that I just saw the witch. Maybe this is the clue to the paranormal. I should follow quietly. They seem to be discussing something together. They went in the direction of the giant windmill. I had no idea there is such a massive bridge in the town. Such a bottomless cliff. Probably it's here. The witness said he went to another world after kneeling under an old tree. The windmill's interior is unexpectedly empty. I haven't fully figured out why this town is so strange, but it should be soon. Am I back? I should get out of here quickly.
Well, that's actually entitled Metaverse Curiosities, Episode 1, and I'm one of those people who doesn't really like things with the interface showing, but what's actually happening there is the interface is meant to be simulating the screen on a camcorder, you know, so some scenes
Oh, I see.
proper.
Okay.
So the narrator is filming all this, right? So the text information on the overlay is like, you know, like they do in some of these movies where, you know, it suddenly cuts to imitate a camcorder footage by one of the participants.
So what you're saying is that Science Space is like the Blair Witch Project. So we should all be very careful and not go to New Jersey.
That kind of thing, yeah. And Science Space is that form incidentally as well.
Well, I always avoid New Jersey, so I'll be okay.
Fair enough. Don't think I've ever been to New Jersey and don't particularly want to. So there we go.
Boy, the lighting and the skybox in that were wonderful. My goodness.
Yeah. Really, I thought it really fit the idea of a few Halloween clips actually to show. And
the directing was fabulous. I thought some great effects there.
Yeah. And Science Space, you know, we're closely connected with them, but you know, a lot of the old people from Second Life, for example, there's a whole load of people we know who do appear sometimes in OpenSim here, but they also often are in Science Space and often, oddly enough, in Vibella as well. So you keep coming across these same names, you know, although obviously from a spatial context, the sheer size of OpenSim here and all the grids connected make it what it is. But that was a little special that I thought would not go amiss on this show, so to speak. So we've done the cave grave, haven't we? Right, okay. Something I thought we'd just show. In fact, I'll show it now to get it out of the way. You actually mentioned this last week, Thirza, and also you said that you met the person behind it, and she thinks I'm the funniest person alive or something. This was the cited issue when it.
Oh, she thought you were funny. I didn't say she was the funniest person alive. I said she thought you were funny.
She thought I was funny, and I thought that was funny.
She never said the funniest person alive. Let's be clear.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure why I'm not getting it on screen, because I actually deliberately set this up so that I could flip through the pages for you. Here we are. It's just taking its time. Right. Okay. So this is it. It's at a site called issue.com, ISSW.com, and it's called blah blah blah. And it's an independent newspaper done by Sophie Supermarine on the alternate metaverse grid on OpenSim. It is a new monthly newsletter. This issue is number 12 and includes Chloroform Academy, AMV, Autumn Fest, Halloween and open house tours, and guess what, a monthly recipe. So the nice thing is you can blow this up to full screen, which I can't do, or you would only see a fraction of the page, but you know, it's altered as a PDF in flipbook format, so you go there, and this is too small for you to actually read, but at least you can get an idea on screen of what it looks like. Not lots of nice photographs, so lots of dinkies there. Dinkies are small things, a bit like tinies, but not tinies, dinkies, whatever. I better shut up on that one. I don't know what I'm talking about. Right, the MV Autumn Fest, of course. You know, this format lends itself to nice full colour adverts. You know, but without the costs of actually producing a full colour magazine in the real world. So very much the sort of thing. Tribute program in order of appearance. I like this. You know, they've got somebody playing Ed Sheeran, for example, called Clifford Hanger, and Jennifer Lopez is Dua Lipa is Cataplexia. You know, these are the actors. Well, we know with their avatar names, and these are, you know, who they're playing basically. It's a Palapalooza 5 tribute, I guess, music sort of thing.
Yeah, that's tonight. That's tonight.
Yeah.
That tribute thing, right now.
Yeah. Right. Of course, you do have. I think you've got a side coming up for that, haven't you? Yeah. So that's right. Anyway, I just thought, although we mentioned this last week, I wasn't prepared, you know, to actually be able to load it here and give you an idea of what it's like. Only 16 pages, this actually, so it's a fairly modest sort of thing, but it's lovely to have, you know, a nice, you know, glossy magazine, albeit digital.
Yeah.
For the metaverse here. That's actually issue 12 too, so I can't scroll here unfortunately. Oh, maybe I can. Yeah, there you are. So as you can see, there's an array of previous issues there. Well, there's number 4, number 6, number 9. But if you I'm doing this live, so I'm not going to do it. But you can follow them, so you get notifications when there's a new one out. And if you click on their homepage, I guess it's that. There we are. Then you can see all the back issues in one place and read them all to get yourself up to date. So I've always been a big fan of the issue site. Actually, I actually subscribe to a lot of magazines there, but this I think is the only one that's dedicated to open sim in any way. Right, so I'm going to remove that from my list here, and I'll come back to some other stuff later. Right, so that's all the web pages per se I've got there. One more Halloween clip just to get out of the way before we move on. This I've downloaded. I'm not sure where I've got it from, but it's Ali in the Spider's Web Halloween, and I'm pretty sure this is OpenSim too, but I can't remember where. And I don't think there's any audio on this either. No, there's not. So again, it's a silent clip of Ali in the. Oh, here we are for Rock Grid. Oh no, that's that's. They've left their interface on, haven't they? But there you are. Privacy concerns. Whoever filmed this is a friend of Lazuli Porvaca. Exclusive information there from my Snoop ability. So, anyway, yeah, as you can see, more Halloweenery sort of stuff. But since we've got a lot of our own here, I think I'll send him. It's all pretty much the same, so I'm not going to keep on playing it. Right. Okay. I'm going to get some more out of the way first. Last week I mentioned to you, in fact, I've still got it here this week, is good to keep a homepage here from a site called Inworld, and this site is their region site, and then you can choose the latest, and this shows you technically what the latest OpenSim regions are. We've got Avalonia Plaza there, and Wildwood Bay Roleplay, but that's a promo. It's on several pages, and quite a few here. And one thing I did during the week was I went here and although if I click on this, you'll see something like this, and most of them have just a picture of their region on the front page, and then hypergrid address and everything else for you to look up. But some of them have some more elaborate sort of slideshow format things on their front page. So what I did is I went and copied some of these slideshows from the top regions on OpenSim World. And again, these are just silent shows, but these are literally the slideshows they put on their own front pages to advertise themselves. Unfortunately, I forgot to tag the screencast with the name of the region. So I don't know whether Thirza or even Ernest, if you recognise any of these regions.
I want to go though. It looks really good.
Yeah, yeah, definitely another sort of Japanesey one.
I can't say I recognise it, but it looks good. Yeah, very good.
It's near the top of the regions list on OpenSim World. So yeah, I thought it looked good. So since they, they provided the slideshow, and I just made a video out of it. And the pussycat. Always like anything with a pussycat in it, don't we? And I think that's the last picture on that one. That's very picturesque looking. The water wheels.
Yeah.
Mixture of Japanese, and we'll have to. I'll have to find out where that is. I'm sure a brief visit back to back to this site will actually
I was thinking this morning it'd be very interesting if we could ask the people at OpenSim World, could they make a little checkbox or something that said featured on HG Safari, and then we could you could say, show me all the worlds that have been featured on HG Safari.
that would be.
I'm not going to ask Sata to do that.
No, oh, that would be fun.
Okay, James, you've given yourself a new job.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
But don't tell him I asked.
All right, I won't.
This is the next one. Again, I've got 6 of them now right here to show you, but again, I can't tell you what region it was, but we got some legs on horseback there. Oh, I do believe there's a ponytail too, but otherwise, very, I'm very attracted, like those regions we visited in the week, to landscapey stuff and that's moody, trees and lighting and, stuff. That is decidedly, that's obviously a shipwreck, but it's a very neat shipwreck. So, yeah, here we've got another gloomy, moody picture, and the same there. These are all, some regions just, they've really overdone it on landscaping and, almost real, not real, but that kind of realism in there. Right, so the next one. Again, if these seem familiar, let me know. Right, this one, more ghostly figures. I was very conscious of Halloween when I chose these, by the way. Spooks and moodiness. A medieval sort of, well, almost medieval there. Welcome to the Great Pumpkin. I don't know what all that business is. Exotic plants, garden of, yeah. It's a pity the Wolf Tones band. Don't know. Maybe that's it. No, maybe it's Wolf Territories. Maybe, I don't know. Oh, Marty Feldman. God, I used to work with him as a kid. The real one, that is. Yeah. Yeah. So interesting sort of tributary stuff here. Yeah, definitely full of ghouls and stuff there. Yeah, and there's our pumpkins, so we definitely know it's Halloween now. Thank you. Happy Halloween. Ghosts welcome. Very good. Right, next one. This one again. Can't tell you offhand which is. Oh, this is another trick. This isn't a slideshow on the front page. It's one of these 3D surround pictures that I think you can make it in Firestorm. Or
you can now. The latest version allows you to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And basically, it's a single picture. What I'm doing here is I'm using my camera to pan around the picture because the picture includes the whole environment. When you take the snapshot, it doesn't just take what's in front of the camera. It actually reads what's all around in every other direction, including the up and down. So that was that one. This one, I think, yeah, we're back to the slideshow on this one. And flowers, of course. Uh, Very colourful, this. I don't think this one's set for Halloween. I might be wrong. I might get a shock. Something may jump out at me in a minute. Little fairies and things. There's something very familiar about this one, as if it's somewhere I have been, but I can't remember offhand. That's a nice little line of dancers. All on there. Fairies on flowers kind of thing. So a bit more of a sweet context to that. That would make a nice poster, that last one there. And the final one again, a bit rather more sober region this. Your lighthouses, your old buildings, your new buildings, even a British telephone box I see in the distance there. Didn't know they existed anymore, so maybe it's an archive sim. What is nice? So I take it no memories of these from anybody else here. Still good to look at. Maybe we will come across them. Oh, a lot of people have trains, you know. Great Western Railway, so UK built here.
Cornwall, I think it must be Cornwall.
That's it. That actually, this is the name of the sim, Devonport. You will find Devonport on the OpenSim page here. No longer on the front page, but obviously, if you're here, there's a next button, so you can just go through them, and somewhere near the top of the recent ones, you will find Devonport. However, here I'm not here to go around clicking on pages. You can all do that yourself. Right. So before we move into the advanced film and stuff, I know that you've got some extra news for us, haven't you, Thirza, on the board behind us?
Yeah, I've got a couple of pieces of news that I'd like to share with you. First of all, the Trianon Ballroom has a special event on the 1st of November. It's the Day of the Dead, and it's going to have Clan singing, Clan of Scotia, who is really a great guy. He's been singing in the real world for probably 25 years, and he's been in OpenSim for about 3, and he's teamed up with Essential, and she has a sim on OpenSim, on OS Grid rather, that has 3 different music venues. So she works Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. She does DJing, and there's 3 different styles that she does. She has a more formal venue, and then there's the fetish room, which I think she says don't be put off by the name. And then what this event is going to be in her Trianon Ballroom. So that's going to be on the 1st of November, and it's the Day of the Dead event. So that's number 1 I wanted to tell you about. Corsonero Nightfire is doing a concert at Café des Gars over on Craft Grid. So that's another one that's coming up on the 28th. That's going to be fun. We've got Hot Daddies. This is the Voodoo Sim on Wildwood Bayou Grid. They've got a bunch of events, as you can see here. The weekend before Halloween, they have their usual blues events, and then they have a special event on the Monday, which is Halloween. We also have a Halloween event, which is a hunt for the safari on that Monday. Osgrid, obviously, they have their usual Halloween party. That's going to be on Event Plaza, and that's on the Saturday before Halloween, so everybody can probably get to that. We've already talked about Autumn Fest on AMV, Alternate Metaverse Grid. That's continuing. That's on tonight, and will continue for the rest of the week until November 1st. And lastly, I wanted to mention that right here on Kitely, there's an event over on the Black Hills Saloon that's going to be also for... oh, no, hold on. I think I already had this. I apologize. Yeah, this was a little beaver event. I had it from last week, and I was so sure it was next week, but it was last week. But the next time he has something, I promise to mention it, because
I
that's a very
was,
special place.
and I was looking forward to doing the
Were
time.
you? Oh man, I'm so sorry. But they do many events that have a Native American
That was
twist,
meant,
so it's very special. Anyways,
well,
so I apologize for that.
that was meant to be my funny clip. I'm looking forward to doing the time warp again.
Well, if you want to do the time warp,
Let's try.
come over to AMV on the 31st. I'm doing a full Rocky Horror live performance. So do come up.
Well, there we
Oh,
go. See,
right
we can
there.
do that.
Let's
So
do
that's
the
just,
time
as I
warp.
say, there's just a few of the many things that are happening. Sato was saying that this is the year with the most events on the calendar for Halloween. That it's in the 7 years that OpenSim has been online. So yeah, many things happening. That's just a handful. Something for everyone there. Not everybody's into Halloween, but there's still many social events you can get to. And check out OpenSim World. They always have many things listed. That's the place to look.
Well, in this world of multiple metaverses and multiple multiverses and parallel universes and everything else, I think we will shortly have an all year round Halloween somewhere. I'm
Oh
sure of it.
gosh, let's hope not.
It's going to happen. It's going to spoil the whole thing, isn't it? Okay, so let's move on quickly because we've got to get to Ernest and Ellen, of course. Um, the clips from Safari this week, we'll talk over them. James was with us on this, and Ernest, he wasn't with us this week, but he's obviously familiar with this sort of thing. I'm just going to start them playing. I mean, it's all. This one did have a bit of sound behind it. Third, who's basically took us around the region here, told us that to put the sound on, basically, and it's rather haunting. All the people you see here are those of us from Safari, not all of us together. These things are actually so wonderful that, as I will tell you, we all tend to split up and walk around. So if you're lucky at the beginning and the end, you see us all together. And thereafter we get lost.
Yeah, there's plenty of things that I missed. I think other people got to see because I saw some great photos of corners of this sim that I never did get to. So it's always interesting to see what other people notice and where they get to, because you focused on your own experience and then you see everybody else's as well, and it really makes you understand how much there is going on in a sim like this and how much work behind the scenes
Yeah.
to make it all happen.
It's the sort of thing where I recognise a lot of the components that were, made, taken and put into this build, and obviously original stuff too. And obviously a third just bought the whole 5 regions, I think it is. But so much of it is in the landscape design, if you like. You may think, oh, I've seen that before somewhere, and OpenSim used to get a criticism of sort of, oh, they've all got the same thing on it, but that's not. It's not. That's certainly not true here. Most of it is unique, but also a lot of it has to do with the way different things are juxtaposed. You might find 2 things you know from elsewhere, but you've never seen them in the same place and in a mixed context before, and so here you've got all these twisty, windy paths. I mean, I've got loads of them, but I've never been able to put them in such a beautiful, place, so to speak.
There's another factor that is I think Ernest can speak to, which is trying to get the buildings of a size where people can cam easy enough. Is
Yeah.
that right, Ernest? And that's always the trick, isn't it?
Absolutely, especially if you're trying to present stuff inside them and you want people to have a camera.
I think you're going to see somebody try right now. Call my camera. Oops. Yes, there we are. it can be awkward, because especially you've got to click to get the door open before you can even look in. But yeah, these of course are straight out of the Hobbit, aren't they? I love the way they. I never tried building this. The idea of I did lots of underground building sort of stuff. Basically, you just build ground level on a higher platform and then work out what's going to be underneath. But I love from the film, the way these houses are just built into the hill, you know. And I think there's much more hillside in that array of houses than there ever was in the film adaptation, actually. But it just looks so wonderful.
Yeah, there's some poetic license taken, obviously, because they're trying to
Oh
incorporate
yeah,
different things. But
it,
for example, the Green Dragon pub, which is that main bigger house that we
yeah,
see at the beginning, that was deliberately made a little bigger because then people who have a larger size avatar can get inside,
yeah,
whereas they can't get inside the Hobbit houses unless they're
yeah.
smaller.
Oh, there it is. At the top there, we got the dragon. He was a devil. I was trying to chase him around with my camera, and he kept on buggering off elsewhere. But I got a few shots of him breathing fire, but nowhere near the ground. So I think people were pretty safe there. Right, there's a bit more. Um, I can hear the bird song and thing in the background, I think. Yeah. There we are. Yeah, this is a different bit. As you said, there's a vast amount here, and when we add on the other clips coming up of uh, the other Elven region too, it's a lot. In fact, I did so much filming here. I may have to cut this a bit short if it begins to look samey because when I came out of filming mode, I landed somewhere and put my interface back on, and there was Third saying "Mao!" exclamation Mao Mao. I
He's
think
a
he'd be
good
trying.
host because he knows when to send people away.
Yeah, well, I think he'd be trying to get hold of me. And not realizing that I was away filming and couldn't tell what the hell was going on in world, wherever I was, because I could have been at the other end of a region while I was filming this in camera. So, um, yeah, but Third is a great guy actually.
And I
Uh,
always appreciated that whenever we have a safari with him, even though he's a busy man, he always takes the time to come and visit the other destination. And I think
yeah,
that just shows such a nice respect
yeah, got in the
for the
mood.
other host. You know, so
Yeah,
you see musicians do that. They'll stay for the gig of the person who follows them if they possibly can, because it just shows support. It's nice.
yeah,
And it also kind of gives you some pointers on how to do your safari next time too, because you can see the highs and lows of the other person's experiences. Oh, okay. Well, when they come to visit me,
oh,
I'll learn from that and not do that. That's a mistake. Or oh, that's a good idea. I'll try doing it in a different way. So it's a baptism of fire. I'm sure Ernest can agree with that. Having us come to visit your Sims, however prepared you are, it's always a bit of a shock when the safari lands.
Yes,
I don't, was it like that for you, Ernest?
absolutely. It's a bit like one of those the crowd. What is it when everybody starts dancing? When they suddenly, yeah, everybody appears at the place.
Oh,
Mm.
you're like, whoa.
oh, somebody's nicked
Yeah.
that guy's nicked James's hat.
Yes.
Is that James's
I
hat?
should report
Yeah,
him.
that's
Yeah.
Report him,
Yeah.
James.
Yeah, James, somebody's nicked your hat.
How could something like that happen? It's
I
terrible.
don't
I
know.
don't
You're gonna
know.
get hold of the copyright police. That's yours.
Shocking.
Sure, yeah. Well,
It's a fun build. Even if you go there alone, you certainly don't feel lonely because there's
yeah.
so many chat bots and people wandering around, and there's a lot of stuff happening. So we were a little bit much for him because the poor chat bot tried to greet every single one of us at the beginning, which was a bit of an overload. That's another nice touch with the honeybees.
Oh, yeah. You can hear them buzzing. Now, this character here is Third. I'm used to seeing him in a rather bulky dragon on it. It doesn't sit and have lip movement, but he chose a different avatar for himself here. So, still strange, like a tree man of some sort.
Yeah, an ent, I believe.
And, we've also got some leaking audio, I think. Maybe I don't know. I probably panned into some place where avatars were using voice. They sound French in the background there, so that figures.
Yeah, well, that's French.
There we are. Of course, there's a sign, but they're clicking on those names on the signpost teleports you to the different sims. I think they are. Rivendell at the bottom there is a. I think that's where we were going to be heading there. And there you are. Says that was a gorgeous ball gown you were wearing. I don't know.
That dress is so weird. It's different colours on everybody's screen. I
Yeah.
don't know why.
Wow.
It was just green as far as I knew, but it came out like that.
It was
Can't
gorgeous.
even tell you.
Very lovely.
Very
I mean,
strange.
the only thing was I wasn't quite sure. I mean,
You don't need to. Wow, seriously.
Sorry, a ball gown or a nightie or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it was an odd choice.
Honestly.
Here we are. Well, no, see, I was clicking on you to follow you.
Yes,
and
okay.
I teleported with you to the.
That's your excuse. You stick to it.
Yeah, will do.
Honestly.
Oh, sorry. I better click onto the next section. So we
Let's
managed to
move
get
on.
ourselves underground, and my goodness, what awaited us underground was that, whatever that is.
I think it's supposed to be. It's a troll, probably.
We
I know
moved-
there's supposed to be the Balrog is down there, but I never found it.
That's the Hobbit himself, I think, isn't it? Oh, no, now I get a little.
No,
bit-
that's A.I. Austin. He was dressed as a Hobbit.
Oh, yeah, actually, yes. Of course, they were giving away the avatars for this, weren't they? Yeah. Close up of some rocks there. This is what happens when your camera gets stuck in caves. Oh, there's the I forget what he's called again. A few sound effects here as well. Sporadic sound effects are actually more spooky for being sporadic. Actually, you get nice and quiet, and then suddenly there's a weirdest of noises. But oddly enough, for somewhere that's dark and underground, the sort of blue hues and lighting, they're done with projectors, aren't they? On the rocks are quite good. I haven't got all the texture in, but you know. God, what's a creature? What kind of imagination comes up with something like that, I ask you? Definitely something weird with them. Oh, this is lovely. The screaming, screaming faces. The mouths are like a cave and they're hewn into the rock. And this is actually the cave, but unfortunately, from when you zoom out with the camera, you realise it's just a hollow mesh that's obviously been made to up like a cave. So we lose a bit of the immersion and realism, but it's still very well done. A bit of skeleton from something or other. There is me. I think I found something here and went to explore it, and then everybody decided to TP off somewhere else. Well, I thought, I don't know what it was. Was it an underground throne or something I found to sit on? I don't know. Sorry, that is me fast forwarding a bit because I remember these statues from somewhere. This is round the entrance. Oddly enough, there's an off-sim. All these mountains and things are like an off-sim build, and it's actually. Do you remember when we did the HIED expo?
Yeah,
A few years ago, and I had this big off-sim surround that we put the 4-sim complex into the middle of. Well, I think this is the same one, although it's been scaled
really?
slightly differently. Yeah, and obviously we just had auditoriums and stuff on the inside of it, whereas this is a whole build that you don't really notice where the edges begin. Anyway, let's move to the next one, I think. All right, here we are, back down there. this is me. Scroll. Yeah, I got. Oh, I think we were commenting on the mist at some point. Although there's some other place we went where there was just mist all over the place. It's
Yeah, it doesn't do well in advanced lighting.
no, it's yeah. Once it's resed, it looks like mist. But of course, before because it's particles and stuff, it takes a while to come in, so it's not immediately immersive. Uh, oh, I hope I'm not coming in again on you.
Try not to.
So, yeah, that's
Can we move on to Roland, because I know Ernest doesn't have a huge amount of time, and I really want to get to that.
Okay. Well, there's Third again, that creature there, and yeah, because we just teleported somewhere else. Okay.
Mal, you've just been ejected.
Oh, there he goes.
Monkey poodle. Okay. Well, this may be Roland's. This is looking a bit more elfin. I'll let you talk through that while I try and get myself involved again.
Sure thing. Ernest, do you know Roland Francis? I expect you may have come across his work.
I've been very impressed with what I've seen so far. It's fantastic.
Yes. Well, the first part was these 6 Sims that Fred bought and fixed with his team and made available for DreamGrid. But then we moved from there for our second hour to a sim that's owned by a Belgian gentleman called Roland Francis, and he has a little grid called VBell, and he is it's really quite a small grid, but when you're there you don't think it's small at all, because he has this wonderful elven style region called West Lorien, and he's built up a whole backstory for it based on the books. And I've been there, I should think, a dozen times, but I have still not seen everything there is to see on this region. It's just beautiful. The detail is just absolutely exquisite, and the amount of different regions there are within the build, again, it's incredible. And so he took us around a little bit at a time so we could see it. The big deal with Roland this week has been that he's been developing herdable mesh, or rather animesh, I should say.
That. Yeah.
Did you see that?
I think I saw on Open Sim World. Yeah, so he's been doing herdable horses, hasn't he? Yeah.
Exactly, and of course it applies to any animal. So if you have any sort of landscape sim, the idea that you can make your animesh walk and go somewhere, or it's just fantastic. Because I don't know if you've ever tried to make them walk in a rotation script or something like. It doesn't work. So anyway, it's not his script. It's things that he's found and he's been able to put together with advice and help from others. But so now he has these unicorns that basically herd that walk after each other. So that's the latest development that he has thought immediately to share with people, rather than just kind of how people are, they keep it all secret and they don't want to show how they did something. It's completely the opposite, and that's the kind of guy he is. So he has this beautiful elven architecture. Some of the pieces, as Mal was saying before, are things that we've all seen perhaps in other settings. The houses are not unfamiliar, but the way he's put it all together is just beautiful. And he's got a lot of really lovely stuff there.
Rivendell.
So if you ever need advice and anything to do with herding animesh, he's your man.
That's a really nice looking sim.
Yes, and again, beautiful music. And the sim, I don't know if James would agree, but I was shocked about how good the resin was, how little lag there was.
Yeah, it was very fast. And another thing, it was so lush with trees and forest, and yet it was still open, and which was great for camming around and for feeling able to move around everything that was built. It was a great compromise between feeling in a forest but also having that openness.
But the other thing I noticed doing the camming is that things were navigatable because they're on kind of different levels. In other words, it wasn't like a single ground level with all the buildings and things spread out. One will be higher than another. And in fact, if you imagine them all sinking to ground level, they'd have been colliding and overlapping. But because they were at different levels, you were moving the camera up and stuff, then they felt much further apart from each other than they really were. As the crow flies, so to speak.
Absolutely. Yeah, and this is really the joy of going on safari, because you get to see how other people have made things, and then you know who to go to for advice if you're making a certain kind of build. And for example, Roland is incredibly generous. If you see something that you really like on his build, things are not all free to copy, but if you see something that you like and you ask him for it, he'll give it to you, no problem. He's incredibly generous that way. So it makes it possible for you to not only be inspired, but actually get the things you need to make your sim special. So that's a wonderful gift, really, that we have in OpenSim, this community of people who are willing to give their time and many times their objects to you if you need them for a certain kind of build.
Yeah. Yes, a number of times I've sort of be not just here, but people on OpenSim, and things aren't necessarily copyable. People don't want you to just copy for the sake of it. But if you ask and they say, "Oh, I'll send you one of them," and
Absolutely.
very, very generous spirit all round, really, and so detailed here, really. Just
And didn't you think it was wonderful that Tessa and Fit, who are the girls from Wildwood Biogrid, who were dressed as elves, they really fit in so perfectly, didn't they?
Yeah.
They look beautiful.
There's almost a attempt at, I must say, when I look at old film and stuff like that, I think, oh, well, that was one of the elven ones, or that was one of the medieval ones. Sort of, you keep wondering if you could, it would take so much planning, but you could almost make a movie of the best of elven worlds. By mixing footage from put these together, just as you could make a movie about the best of Star Trek worlds. And
That's true.
all, you could film them and they're separate locations, but because of the theme, they're so interchangeable. And the avatars too, because the avatars that visit these worlds are likely to be of the same bent, shall we say. This camera's getting there. This is still all the first shot, actually. It's about 8.5 minutes, and it was having a problem resing when I first arrived, as you could probably tell from the amount of grey blobs on the screen. But it settled in pretty quick, and we are getting lost again, but everything's resed rather nice and beautifully now. Love those sort of I was having a problem trying to figure out where the source of these firefly-like things in the trees were, but my camera couldn't find the right shot. I recognise that chap standing on the.
Yeah, there he is.
The stonework, yeah.
What's he doing
Once again,
there?
standing where he's not supposed to be standing.
Right.
Yeah.
Such a troublemaker.
Must have been before they nicked his hat. Oh, but no, he got it back again, didn't he? Because he's got it again now.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, who knows? Oh, that's some interesting acrobatics there. You define gravity by any chance?
Mm-hmm.
I think you are.
Just one of my skills.
I think that hat has put a spell on you,
Hmm.
as the song goes.
Could be.
We put a spell on you, and now you're ours. It's just saying that the music's making all the difference here. I'm glad I kept that on. So when you're doing the silent filming, sometimes the music or the background noises are really getting away. But in this case, it was all rather nice. Oh, this is the other part of the region. Now, this is another example of a bit that was very elevated. This, this was on a tree, but it just goes up and up. And he was actually telling us, Roland, that, or you were asking us about the complications of building this, and he was telling us how he had to do a lot of workarounds to get it so that you could actually walk up the stairs.
That's true, yes.
The entire height of this tree. I mean, I will move my camera in a while, I think, where you actually see just how high it is. And walking up steps and filming at the same time is near impossible. But when they're twisting around a tree or anything else, they're not easy to navigate, believe me. They look like very modern architecture, those arches and things, but they're actually more of this ancient Elven tradition. Yeah, this is ground level, but the oh, that's right, I followed it along the ground for a while. There's almost no way to convey the height of this, because if you're at the high bit, you're so far above the ground you can't see the ground for context. But it's one of these structures is very high indeed. It goes at the end of that one. Okay, now we've got actual music, but never mind. Nice enough. There we are. I think that's actually the very top of one of them. Okay, well, bearing in mind time. Oh, I'm skipping forward on bits of this, and then we'll move on to.
Yeah, let's talk to Ernest. Poor old Ernest. He's been sitting here an hour now, poor guy.
Oh, but I think he's still talking. Interesting. Oh, here's another study in Thurzaisms.
Oh my goodness me.
Yeah.
Not embarrassing
okay,
at all.
I'm now going to move. Okay, I've got a folder here called Ellen, right? And okay. Now, what we got next? I'll get you to introduce Ernest to us, Thirza, and have a quick chat. I have silent. No, it's not silent. I've got two bits of an art walk with you. I've got some silent film of the New York bit, and then I've got three segments, the first two of which we're going to join up together, where you're actually interviewing Ellie. So I think before we go to the first interview with Ellie, maybe you start by chatting to Ernest and
love to. Yes, please.
I will. I forget whether I got any. I don't think I've got any actual. Whether any of this is silent, I don't think it is.
Oh, that looks familiar.
Yes, it would do. I think you're going to hear Thurza talking in a sec. So
I'd like to apologise to everybody watching this movie.
Oh, well, I don't know.
Just
Okay.
in general.
Yeah.
So hello, Ernest, and I apologise that you've been waiting all this time to talk
Don't
with us.
apologise. I'm glad to be here. It's been fascinating.
So you see what goes on when we're on safari. So tell us about yourself, Ernest. How did you start in virtual worlds? I don't think you've ever told us that.
Yeah, well, I
Yes.
mean, as a lot of us, I think I started off as a Second Life refugee, so I was there for many years. I got into that from doing a research project when looking into technology when Second Life first came out. But then moved over to OpenSim because it was too expensive to be in the other place. I wanted a place where I could have land and build things and do things that you just can't afford to do in Second Life. So that's when I came across.
Yeah.
And just
So what year was that roughly?
oh my goodness! So I've been in and around OpenSim for probably about 4 years now. But
Oh,
I had a
nice.
long sabbatical between Second Life and then. So yeah, so I've been sort of dabbling with virtual worlds for must be 15 years, I guess.
Just good to know. So, and we know that you teamed up with Ellen to set up the art factory. I think she tells us about it in the film. I was just curious to know what was your first priority? What did you want to make most? What was the
Yeah,
thing that?
that's right. I mean, we sort of met up. I mean, Alan was building a gallery at the time. We called the Gas Light Gallery, which was a set of pictures from people that people had done in World, based around the theme of light. So it was all sorts of things to do with the use of light and that got us talking about art and the use of light in art. We started off with the New York simulation, which was based
I
around.
will. While you're talking,
Hmm.
because you are talking, I've got some silent film of the New York simulation, so I'll play that while you're
Oh,
talking.
there we go.
Yes,
So
it's
yeah,
not.
so
It's about 4 minutes. So here we go.
oh yeah, so this is the New York Greenwich Village simulation. It was what I call a reverse build. So you've actually got the underneath is a mirror image of the top, which gives you some really nice reflections as you see in the puddles as you walk around. You can also see reflections in the gallery floors and things like that. It was something I've been dabbling with for a little while. And yeah, the first build really was of Andy Warhol's Silver Factory, which was where Andy first set up his gallery in New York. And hence the reason that we called it the Art Factory. So it all sort of came out of building this first building, which was the Silver Factory. So that was in the middle as you come around the corner here. I think you'll just pass the car and into where Andy Warhol's factory is. But then we sort of expanded that out and decided to start putting galleries together, which were around New York artists. So we had John Vasquez and Jasper Johns and Liechtenstein and Haring and people like that. So we started building that. But yeah, and this is when we first started to get involved in sort of a community concept for it. You'll see in the middle there, in the middle of this room, there's an actual life drawing area, and we actually sort of did a few events where everybody sat around the easels in the middle and drew the people that were posing in the middle. So and then they actually drew them in real life and then uploaded the images into World so that we could display
So
them.
right from the very beginning, obviously you're an artist and an art lover in real life. These are people that fascinated you in real life. But you really wanted to bring that sense of community into virtual worlds.
Totally. I mean, I think
Is that something you brought over from Second Life, or did that happen more when you got to OpenSim?
more in OpenSim, really. I mean, in Second Life, I had done a build of Cafe War in Greenwich Village, which was where Bob Dylan first played. So that was I was more sort of music orientated then. But I've always had a love of art, and I wanted to sort of, and I love going to art galleries. I like to see real art in a real gallery setting, and it's not always possible for people to do that. And I wanted to have a way of actually sort of having almost like a gallery experience, so people got to learn about real world art, but view it in the way that they might if they went to a real gallery. But also for that then to inspire them to think about their own artwork and sort of use that to develop their own art. And so yeah, that was the combination really, and bringing together Inworld artists, and we've got I think 6 or 7 or 8 now, I think.
Were you surprised by that? Were you surprised by how many people there were in OpenSim who were looking for a gallery space, or was that what you expected?
I think that a lot of them were. It was being given the encouragement and the space to say, come in and display your work. I mean, I think we're all naturally, as human beings, creative people. It's part of what being human is. And I think giving an outlet for people to express themselves and to show their work and for people to appreciate it, I think is something that we all enjoy. So yeah, I think there was a number of people out there that wanted places to display their own. And I think also, rather than just having their own gallery on their own region, which you'd have to go sort of searching for, that it was combined with lots of others. So people visiting the one gallery would then go and have a look at other people's work as well. So yeah,
Right. Yeah. Can I ask you another question? In Second Life, you get a lot of snobbery in art, and a lot of artists that sort of get a bit of fame, and then it sort of goes to their head. My experience, and I'm curious if it's the same with you, is that people in OpenSim, 9 times out of 10, they're much more shy and unwilling to push themselves forward and say, well, I'm very good at this. People in Second Life very often don't have any problem in telling you that they're a self-proclaimed genius, as 2 or 3 people have told me in their profiles. Has that been your experience too, that you find people in OpenSim quite often quite shy and they need to sort of be brought out?
I think that would be a fair observation. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that there's been a number of artists where we've both gone to look at their work, or they've shown us a couple of pieces of work that that they're sort of, as you say, quite shy, or don't really think it's it's worthy of display. And encouraging that and getting them to put it up has then inspired them to go on and develop other work. I mean, certainly Nice, who does some fantastic portraiture work, had done a few portraitures of people's profile photographs, then started to experiment with telling stories through her photographic work and stuff. Antonia was a great where she was doing some work and then got inspired by the work of an artist and started to use that as a way of developing her own work and produce and developed a couple of galleries that showcase her work, which is absolutely excellent, fantastic, very creative work that she does there. This is Rodriguez. This is an artist. All these were all American artists around there, and Rodriguez is an artist from New Orleans, which of course is where Ellen originates from. And so we wanted to incorporate a bit of art from the New Orleans region as well. And Basquiat around the corner, and then who else we got there? I think we've got Jasper Johns and Georgia O'Keeffe. But yeah, I mean, do go along. And what I also tried to do, what we tried to do with this was really not just display flat 2D art in the Georgia O'Keeffe gallery, for example. You're probably aware she did a lot of desert pictures of skulls and flowers and stuff. So we actually then used skulls and flowers to actually make the pictures into almost like a 3-dimensional representation.
Fantastic.
Which was fun. Yeah.
Let's break off into another section now. We've got well, both in 2 parts. We've got Ellie, your partner in this, and Thirza doing an outside broadcast from the art walk here. So I think this is probably sort of interruptible, although technically Thirza is sort of giving us a tour here of this. Of course, is no longer in New York. We're down in the vicinity of the art factory, and later with Ellie we're in the Big Easy too, aren't we? So I'll play this, and feel free to interrupt because if you need to.
So this will be you coming down into Pigalle, the part of France, the part of Paris here. Yeah, one of the areas.
Okay, so this is a beautiful main street on I don't think we need to hear me talking about it.
Meters, you find it very different.
I'm sure Ernest can explain much better than I can what's happening here.
Okay, do you want me to just put the sound off and let Ernest talk over it?
Please.
Yeah.
You care so much for our outside broadcast strategy, eh? It's actually only 3 minutes, so I will mute Thirza for this bit. And
Yeah, this is sort of like
you know what people like when they hear the sound of their own voice. Oh dear.
Well, I'm sure Ernest can explain. What was your thinking when you chose to make
Well,
the streets of Paris? Was it the same as...
Yeah, I mean, it was like it was expanding away from New York and saying, well, let's incorporate, the wider world of art, and what better place to start than Paris, really. So we sort of based it around Montmartre and then Pigalle, so that we could incorporate artists like Lautrec. So Helen's a great fan of Lautrec's work, so we built a Lautrec's, which was sort of based broadly on the Moulin Rouge, but then we hosted works of Lautrec there. This is sort of the square, which is at the bottom of the Montmartre steps. If you imagine, you've got the carousel, and then we've got a building that represents Montmartre on the top. And then in the middle, you've got the resident artists. So we've got the work of Antonia and Amphora and Hella, Symphony, etc. So that they're based around this. You're walking up now past Antonia's poster shop on the right there, which is all Metropolis based. This, you're walking up to the Agile Lapin, which is a cafe where the French artists like Lautrec and Picasso and people used to meet, Mondrian and people used to meet there. Now you're walking up the side street towards Vincent's Yellow House. So you're now walking out of Paris and into Arles. So this is where Gauguin and Vincent lived in the south of France. So we tried to replicate a house that represented their time in the south.
And technically speaking, can I ask a technical question? The houses and the buildings that you put on these regions, was it difficult to source buildings that looked good on the outside but also had an interior that lent itself to gallery spaces?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we again, it was trying to sort of put the art in some kind of context. So, hence the Yellow House, because that was so sort of well known with Vincent. So we wanted that Yellow House, and then Monet's house. We know Giverny, where the lily ponds were, etc. So, we wanted to build that, and we searched and searched until we found houses that were close to what the real world houses were like, but then radically sort of modified them and recolored them and changed them so that they sort of represented those real world spaces, really.
I'd just like to apologize to everyone. This was our first attempt at doing a walkabout, an outside broadcast, and I really did not mean for Mal to be filming me. I was hoping that you would see a great deal more of the architecture.
I will give a little bit of an excuse there, and that is that we did say walkabout, and the idea was like by locking the camera on you, it could literally follow you around, and you were talking. I think the idea was we'd do an outside broadcast, but it's probably a bit of overkill. What I think was a good idea to do now is we haven't actually heard from Ellie yet, so I think we'll hear from Ellie, the first part of the interview with Ellie. Then we'll move back to the second bit of walkabout, and Ernest can talk us through that bit, and then we can move back to Ellie again because we've split it into sort of 2 bits. So, if it's okay with you, we'll move on to. I better put your audio back on, hadn't I? We'll move into the section where Thirza introduces Ellie, if that's okay. So here we are, in fact.
Hello, and here we are in OS Grid, and we're on the sim called The Art Factory. It's one of 9 sims that belong to Ellen Tirazzo. These beautiful sims are home to a great many different pieces of art, and artists too. Hi there, Ellen. How many artists do you have in your group at the moment?
Hey, Thirza. Thanks for having us today. I think right now we have 8 artists, but we're always adding more artists as we find people who either approach us or through conversation, we find out they're interested in the arts, and making space to support artists with either studio space, building space, or just support with creative thoughts and endeavors.
It's a wonderful idea, and in a big grid like OS Grid, there must be loads of people who see what you're doing here and are inspired to become part of your organization. And it's a lovely sim, this as your showcase landing area. I really love the way you've set it up. What were your main inspirations here?
Um, I guess I've always loved art, and I met Ernest Moncrieff, who is quite an artist and very talented builder, and who also loves art. And we just started talking about art. I was doing a little gallery with Chopsy Bode called Gaslight Gallery, and I asked Ernest if he wanted to submit some photos for it, and he said yes. And then it just started growing from there. He told me about different art galleries he'd set up in different worlds, and he seemed to really want to do something but didn't have any land. So on his birthday, I bought a region and gave it to him for his birthday. And I said, let's make art together. And so we started out with a small region, and then we just kept growing and growing and growing. This is on 3 levels, just the art factory itself. And we started building, and we just really enjoyed building together and creating. And then I sort of, as we started building, I started had this idea that we could have an art commune, and it would just be like, I don't really like to for anyone to think of it as mine. It's for everyone and by everyone, and so it's just a free place that we provide for anyone who loves art, who creates art, who appreciates art, or wants to be part of art.
That's wonderful. Can you take me for a little walk around this part of the build, because it looks like it's in a style of a French or Parisian street scene. Is that right?
Yes, yes, we wanted this to sort of be the Paris area, and so let's go this way.
Okay.
So on the right, we have Ernest made an Alan Jones gallery, which is kind of a naughty art gallery, and then I made a little art gallery that's it's sort of the idea is finding a famous or semi-famous art print that's somewhat naughty, and then having someone recreate it in some way here in World. But what's more interesting is this gallery on the left, Nice Minix Art Gallery. She's an amazing photographer, and she's one of our biggest. This is one of our biggest galleries on the region. Is Nice Minix Art Gallery, and she's yep, she does really stunning work. Lots of things with shadow and light, and she's worked for several magazines in World,
Nice.
as well as won some photography contests in World. On the right, we have Lautrex, which is sort of a little bawdy nightclub burlesque that's based on the work of Toulouse-Lautrec. And so everything inside is a painting by Toulouse-Lautrec and all of the beautiful artwork he did with the prostitutes in Paris. To the left is another one of our artists, Victoria's Gallery.
Is that Victoria Logan?
Yes, yes, it is.
Great friend. Yeah, super lady.
Yeah, very good artist, and she does a lot of things in 3D. And she was just beginning to make art when we met her. And so sometimes an artist, I find, and the same with Nice Minnick, is sometimes an artist just needs someone to say, wow, that's art. And they get inspired, or to,
Yes.
see the watch and say, oh, I like what you're doing. Can you explain it to me? and it
That's
sort
right.
of can inspire them to keep on with their art.
Just that little enthusiastic push. Yes,
Right. Just a little emotional support too, right? On the
absolutely.
right, you'll see we have like sort of like the area that we would consider like Montmartre in Paris, and a
Mm-hmm.
little cafe that's straight from my hometown of New Orleans, Louisiana.
Ah,
And there is a Cafe Degas in New Orleans, and so this little reproduction of Cafe Degas is filled with Degas' beautiful ballerinas.
fantastic.
Then another one of our artists here, Antonia Ling,
Yeah.
has she has several galleries here, and she also acts as the manager here at the Art Factory when she has time, and so she helps us with just running the factory and setting things up. We have John Paradigm. He does really beautiful art with fractals.
Beautiful stuff.
Then up the big staircase is our very formal art gallery.
I think we filmed that with Mal yesterday, looking at the
Oh,
floor. That incredible reflection in the floor. It's just unbelievable. Very beautiful.
you'll have to go up to our New York area too, which is one flight up in the sky, and it's all a rainy New York street scene with the same sort of floors.
Oh,
Then we have,
wonderful.
let's see, on the right, Antonia has a couple of really interesting shops where she's done a lot with sci-fi and with magazines. And one of her favorite things she does is this inspired by Magritte, and she's got some very amazing work in the style of Magritte. We just added a brand new artist who is an amazing artist, Helen Vare, and this is her little shop, A Dream Within a Dream, and she does really stunning, beautiful work.
I like the way that people have to explore inside to really see the art. It's not. It's a bit of a voyage of discovery. The sim. It's
I
interesting
think
in art. It's all sort of laid out and display immediately, but it's more intriguing when you have to go and take a proper look inside the buildings. I love
Thank
that.
you. Well, we wanted it to be as realistic as possible.
Hmm.
If we go this way, you'll find you could stop for a little cup of coffee if you want, or for gelato. This is really my favorite part of this area down here is Van Gogh's Yellow House, which is no longer. And this isn't set up like it actually would be geographically. And you'll find the same at the Big Easy, but we just wanted to include lots of different nods to different artists. And then in the background behind Van Gogh's house, you'll see Monet's Gardens of Giverny, which are really, I think, quite beautiful.
Lovely. Yes, indeed.
Then we have a few more artists we sponsor here.
Hmm.
Afra Hendricks is a really amazing artist, and we're lucky enough to have her work here in this gallery. Tiffany Vive is a really talented young woman, and this is her gallery.
So tell me, what inspires you about Van Gogh, Ellen? Why do you love him so much?
I think his story is so tragic. I think that he spent his life trying to do something that he thought he never did, that maybe he'd never be noticed or his art would never be appreciated. Yet there's no more beautiful painting than his sunflowers, and there's certainly no more recognizable artist than Van Gogh. So we really wanted to make a special tribute to him And I don't know, he just always breaks my heart a little bit, you know. But I
So you
think
think
that
if he had known about OpenSim, maybe he would still have had both of his ears and lived to a good long life if he'd had more people appreciating his art and met somebody like yourself?
possibly, I would like to think that I could have inspired him to stay alive a little longer and to believe in himself a little more. I hope that we can inspire people to
That's a
have
wonderful
less self.
thought.
Thank you.
All right, should we
Also,
go back?
yes.
Let's go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say also, since his yellow house is gone, we just like the idea of an immersive experience where people could go in and see what it possibly was. And also Monique's Gardens, like I've never been to Giverny, but I can walk through there and feel like I'm there. And many people can't, especially during the pandemic time, people can't really travel. So we wanted to provide something where people could have the feeling that they were somewhere, even if they can't go there.
That's true. So let's walk past Afra's shop and back towards the main square. Is that okay with you?
Yes. Here's
Try not to
Afra's
go too
place.
fast.
Afra Hendricks is a really amazing artist and a really lovely human who contributes so much in OpenSim. So we were really lucky to have her
Yes,
open
indeed.
again.
Yes, we did a safari at Cozy Comforts
Ah,
10 days ago, and we had a great time.
it's lovely. And then Symphony Vibe is a very talented young woman who makes not only beautiful art but beautiful regions, and everything she touches seems to just turn out to be beautiful.
That's great.
Really
Okay,
glad she's
and
here with us. We have a few more artists over this way.
okay.
Um, oh, behind me is the Hive, which hasn't really taken off, but I haven't given up on it yet. And it's supposed to be an art hive where anyone can come in and contribute something, whether it's just their initial or a picture they took. So there's little honeycombs inside where anyone can add a picture to. And we're hoping that one day it's just filled with lots of different pictures.
What a great idea.
So thanks. Well, some ideas work really well and some ideas don't work as well, but we just keep trying to be creative and think about ways to have people have access to being artists.
And not every good idea takes off immediately, so it all takes time for people's awareness to be raised.
It's very true. Maura McMillan's a very interesting woman who does lots of photography and world. Here's her gallery here.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I really feel so happy that now we have every gallery filled with an artist, and I hope that we have more people approach us. We have galleries, and that I have to try to figure out what am I going to do to get more galleries because I want more artists. I love that this is something Ernest and I built, but it's really not about us in any possible way. It's just really about the artists that are here and the art that's exhibited here.
It's lovely, and we're going to close in this part of our visit with you, and we're going to take up again when we get to another sim you have here nearby, the Big Easy.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming to visit today.
Well, there we go. That's the first part of the interview. And as Thirza just said, we're going to be moving on with her to the Big Easy. Before we do that, though, I think we'll have the second bit of the walk that Thirza did. And once again, I'm going to mute the sound so that we can talk with Ernest over it. And maybe while I'm doing so, Ernest, I'm quite sure you might have the odd comment to make that bears back on what Ellie was telling us during the film. You know that you'd want to comment on. So, I'll I'll silence that film before we get into trouble again. Thank you, Thirza. I'll hand it over to you Ernest and Thirza. But I might interrupt, so might James for that matter. But there we go.
Please. Yeah, it looks like you've actually landed there at the Picasso exhibition by the look of it, which was another one.
Yes, that's right.
There were nothing there too. It's also the location of the Ukraine Vigil as well that we put inside in the Peace Room here. So another one of the pieces of work that we did earlier this year was we opened a gallery at the Peace Gallery, which was another in-world user artist submission, where people submitted art on the theme of peace for Ukraine. So it was another piece of community work we did to bring everybody together to think about that. And we also had a vigil at the Picasso Museum as well, only a few days after, sadly, war broke out there. But yeah, so always thinking of different ways in which we can get artists involved and inspire to create work. As Ellen mentioned, we're really keen to try and expand the art galleries. We are looking at the moment as to how we can do that on the other side of the Seine. So we will be opening up some more galleries very, very soon there.
And you have 9 regions altogether, is that correct?
We do have 9 regions. So as well as the one that we're focused on here, I know you're going to go over to the Big Easy later, which is another one of the regions that we've got. We've also got regions that they've got an entertainment region. We've got on the other side of this region, there is a combination really of UK art, which is housed within the simulation of the Tate Modern in London, and beyond that we also have a Japan region, and we've also got the Film Factory, and we've got a recreation of the Battersea power station as well. So I got into a bit of a Giles Gilbert thing. We built the Tate Modern, which is probably my happy place in the real world, and I wasn't able to visit the Tate Modern during lockdown because of because all the galleries were closed. So because I couldn't visit the Tate Modern, we built it, and that went on a bit more sort of art on that. We then went on to the Tate Modern was built by Giles Gilbert as a power station, and the other famous power station in London is Battersea, which of course which features on the album cover of Pink Floyd's Animals, and so we rebuilt that and then filled it with the art of Pink Floyd, so all of the album covers and recreations of the album covers
that'd be nice
in 3D. So so certainly another place to take a look at. Yeah,
that's one of the things I find incredible about your regions, that this often happens, but even if you think you've seen everything, you never have on these regions, because there's so much detail and so many wonderful corners that you never seem to have explored everything. It's endless. It's wonderful.
It's really difficult, isn't it? Because sometimes I ask, what is your favourite thing that you built or did, and it's always like any artist really, it's the last piece of work that you did. Do you know what I mean? And that's the one that you're most focused on at the time. So, but yeah, there's always another idea in the pipelines, or something else that you want to do or try really. So you're up in here in the more of the sort of classics area. So there's the romantics. There's also some first of all paintings. We've got some Hieronymus Bosch, and we've got a comparison of Titian's Olympia and Manet's Olympia. So you can see the differences between those two paintings. And you're looking across there. I don't know if it will resin, probably not. But there's the Millennium Bridge then that takes you across to the.
We had a little problem here that.
Yes, we have a bridge to nowhere.
As you know, Alan couldn't even get into OS Grid for. We had some technical problems this week.
yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
Such
And one
such
of the problems was I could see the sim on the other side perfectly, but Mal couldn't see it. So.
Oh, what a shame. But that's open, simple, yeah. But it's always there to come back to and have a look again. So if you're
Exactly.
interested in the art of the British artists, we've got a lot of the new contemporary artists like Tracy Emin and Damien Hirst, if you remember, did the Sharks in Formaldehyde, and there's Francis Bacon and David Hockney. Oh, lots and lots of different artists there. So yeah, do visit that one if you get a chance. And there you go, you disappeared. You're probably in the other region now.
I am. I'm enjoying the Hockneys on the other side.
That's the actual end of that clip. We did actually. Well, I did. The camera did get there in the end, but not. We didn't go in. I simply got some aerial film of the built environment around the Tate Modern and stuff. So I did get there at the end, but we could go on forever with this stuff. Really, let's play. Time is getting on, so I think let's play the second part of Ellie's interview. That way we've got all the pre-recorded stuff out the way, and then we'll come back and sort of continue and then wrap up. So this is Ellie interview part 2, by which time we've now moved to the Big Easy, if I recall.
Yeah.
So here we are on the Big Easy sim on OS Grid. It's part of the Art Factory, and once again I'm here with Ellen Terrazzo, and we're standing at the very beginning of Bourbon Street. Ellen, what's the inspiration for this?
Well, I'm from New Orleans, and I just got very, very homesick during the pandemic. And I live in Japan, and Japan has been closed, much like the Edo period, with no entry or exit. And during the pandemic, I was so homesick, and I thought of everyone back in New Orleans so often and hope they were healthy and well and not catching COVID. And I just decided to start building. It's not a replica of New Orleans, but it certainly has places that are very, reminding of New Orleans, or the feel of New Orleans and the joie de vivre of New Orleans. And Ernest saw what I was building and came and wanted to participate in the building. And then we just did what we always do, and we just built and built and built until we had something that we really loved. And so this is sort of my interpretation of the Big Easy, or the Crescent City of New Orleans, Louisiana.
So it's a distilled version of New Orleans. That's great. We all love a distillery. Can you show us some of the other streets? I'll follow you. Show me what else are the sites that anybody who wants to visit New Orleans should see.
Oh, goodness. Well, New Orleans has jazz music, and it has the best food in the world and the most friendly people. Wonderful shopping. Away from the park, you'll see St. Louis Cathedral. Right behind you is Preservation Hall Jazz. It's a big jazz club right here. New Orleans is known as the birthplace of jazz, and so although this wouldn't be on Bourbon Street, New Orleans, the inside is kind of a bit of a replica of Preservation Hall, where some of the most famous people in jazz ever played music. And there's a very famous book about New Orleans called A Confederacy of Dunces. And in the book, Ignatius J. Riley has a kitten in a bun compartment of his Lucky Dog hot dog selling place. And so I made a challenge. Actually, Ernest was intrigued by the idea of the book and read the book. And I challenged him to create a Lucky Dog vendor, and this is what he came up with. So
I love it. That's really good.
And there's the Royal Sonesta Hotel on the left, and then down on the right. Oh, if you want to sneak inside, we have Big Daddy's Strip Club, one of the most famous strip clubs in New Orleans, which is now closed. And one really fun thing in New Orleans, when I was a child, we'd go down to the French Quarter, and there's a club that would have the legs swinging in and out of the window, legs of a mannequin. And so Ernest and I wanted to recreate that here. And so you'll see there's legs of a mannequin coming out of the window upstairs.
Wonderful.
And the end of the street, and this is not geographically correct, but one of the most beautiful places in New Orleans is City Park, which is a big, beautiful park. Swan boats you can ride in, bicycles you can rent, canoes you can rent, botanical gardens. It's just a really, really beautiful place to go. And across the river is the haunted sunken Six Flags. We won't have time to go there today, I'm sure, but if you ever want to go explore, Hurricane Katrina ravaged our city and left many people dead, many people homeless. And to this day, a theme park, an amusement park, remains under the swampy, gator and snake infested waters, and they've never torn it down, and it's still there, just taken over by wildlife and nature. So
That's a real Halloween scene, isn't it? That's magnificent.
it is
You
indeed.
mentioned the cathedral. Can we go take a look at that?
Yes, so let's go walk through the park. Hopefully everything's rising okay.
We'll go
There's a
slow.
little bridge in City Park that honestly looks identical to this bridge right here. So it's really fun to ride a paddle boat under this bridge or take a swan boat, just like you see here, and go ride around the water of the murky waters of City Park in New Orleans. Also, I found this building quite a while back, and it just looks identical to the building in City Park by the Botanical Gardens, where they host weddings and really fancy events. So I just kind of thought, well, might as well make a nice garden and use the building for formal events. It's always
Lovely.
fun
Very
to be able,
Italian it looks. Yeah.
if I can make something in mesh and prim that feels like somewhere I've been, I feel like I can share some experience that I've had maybe with people who have not gone there. We'll just walk through here. This is like a little cafe or an area to cool off. New Orleans is famous for horrible weather, giant mosquitoes, and sweltering heat. So anytime you have a chance to go into the shade and cool off, it's a nice thing. And now we've come out of the other side of City Park and see the cathedral. Let's just take a little walk down here. New Orleans is famous for Mardi Gras, and we have floats that go up and down the streets. We've paused them for now so they don't interfere with the video, but in Mardi Gras, people have to use these horrible portalettes. So we've got portalettes everywhere.
Oh
For people
boy.
to use Mardi Gras. And the oak-lined streets. Mardi Gras people bring their lawn chairs, they cook out, they have blankets, and they wait for parade after parade after parade to come. You can see the parade coming down the street.
Oh
like-
yes, with the coconuts.
Yes, and so my favorite parade has the Kong family, as you see there. And after Katrina, this Mardi Gras Society did not have, the first year that the parades rolled again, there were no Kongs, and we were just so sad. And eventually they brought back Baby Kong. And then the next year there was Baby Kong and Mama Kong. And finally they fixed and repaired and brought back Daddy Kong. And we were all just so happy to see Daddy Kong again.
Reunited. Lovely.
Yes. This is something I'm particularly proud of on the right here. Is a coffee shop made from an old library. But what I love about it is we have actual books that you can read. So if you click on a book, a PDF opens and you can read a book. And we've asked for people to share their favorite books, and then I go and source the book in a PDF format. And Ernest and I make the cover and put the book on the shelf so that people can actually read and learn something, share, an interest of reading it through OpenSim.
Fantastic. What a great idea.
Thanks. I always wanted to have a library, so I thought, well, an old library bookshop will do. New Orleans is also famous. We have our streetcars, as you see here, and Ernest managed to make all of these little streetcars work and run, and so they'll take you all around Sim.
Of course, this is a streetcar named Desire. Whatever name could it have?
And Desire is one of the streets in New Orleans, but sometimes the streets in New Orleans have funny names that seem like they would be one thing, but it's another. So in New Orleans, Robert, for our first name is Robert, but for our last name is Robert. So you could have someone named Robert Robert. Or
That happens here in Italy too.
It's so funny. Or Herbert Bear. And so we have lots of funny names in New Orleans based on that. And then I have a little costume shop here where anyone can come and get cute little outfits to wear. And now we're back on the main street across from the cathedral. New Orleans is very also famous for these horse and buggies that drive you around the city. And so we wanted to sort of just recreate that feeling. Oops, this horse is a little angry.
That's great.
Mosquitoes on him, and there's another streetcar down there.
Well, it's a really beautiful sim. I love it. And I think anybody who has not ever been to New Orleans would feel the sense of place that you've created here, because it's a unique tribute to your hometown, but it's also a very humorous take on it, and that makes it even more adorable, I think. And it must be great that you've been able to work with it together, because there's nothing more inspiring than one person who has the idea and the other person who comes up with the funny bits and the sort of quirky ideas that sort of complete the picture. So I love it, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today, Ellen. I've really loved having this tour with you.
We have a beautiful swamp and a swamp tour at the back of the island if you ever get a chance to come back. And guided swamp waders and turtles and all of our beautiful animals from the swamps of New Orleans.
I can see myself coming back here again and again. There's so much to explore. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Well, that was in classic style. Just as that film was ending, we lost Thirza in the studio, but she has got back remarkably quick, much quicker than I do. So, are you back, Thirza?
Here I am, yes.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so it's actually, I don't know why I even opened my mouth. It's so seamless, nobody would have known. Right,
It wouldn't seem live if you didn't say something.
well, quite, yes, exactly.
Makes it
I have
more
to-
That
live.
New Orleans
I have
was
to excuse.
that New Orleans build was great. And when
It's
when my
fabulous.
family was younger, we as children we were taken to New Orleans, and we called those legs the kicky legs. And it's a touchstone for our family. We always talked about, remember the kicky legs in New Orleans. That's awesome.
I've never been there, but it's like Nashville, actually. I never went there, but I mean, I suppose because of the musical connotations, those are two cities I sort of feel, but particularly New Orleans. I mean, people like Dr. John, Tony Joe White, and musicians that are really my thing. All sort of center on that city.
Yeah.
But
And
isn't it wonderful that you can be an open
Oh
sim
yeah, I'm
and
going there.
have the money to have the space? And I'm sure Ernest would agree with this, that
Yeah.
if you were in Second Life and you wanted to build, and you said, well, I need a sim that reminds me of home, people would say, well, it will cost you as much as a home to
Right.
have that sim.
Like you, man, I've never been to New Orleans, but I feel like I have now, and it was a great way for Ellen to describe places, and then we took photo references and all of that sort of stuff. So I feel, even though I've not been yet, I am inspired to go. I now feel like I know that city, the Crescent City.
Yeah, the build is very
easily.
evocative.
Yeah.
It's very good. Yeah.
it's like studying a map. Well, far better than studying a map, obviously. It's like studying a map before you go somewhere. So when you get there, you'll know. You think you'll know how to get around.
Yes, yeah,
You probably won't, but
yeah.
it's sort of I mean, you really do feel it there. I mean, actually, not just the Big Easy bit, but the other areas too. But the Monet's house. I lost the camera a bit because the moment Ellie mentioned the gardens at the back, I tried to camera around, and by the time I found the bridge at Gaverny, you moved off somewhere else, and I couldn't find it.
Sorry about that. We'll get better at doing it. We'll get
Um,
better.
I certainly like to look inside the Tate Modern build. Obviously the external of that is all very modern and not actually that attractive, but I'd like to actually get inside the Tate Modern because that's a wholly different ball game.
Well, let's ask Ernest now. Would you
Yeah.
be prepared to come back on the shows in a
Sure,
few weeks' time,
absolutely.
maybe?
Yeah, I
We'd
mean,
love
we
to
could
have
certainly
you.
take you around the Giles Gilbert Scott buildings, and I say we've got the two power stations from London. So yeah, more than happy to sort of take you up a wander around those.
Super.
I actually used to live down in Pimlico, so I overlooked the power station on the other side of the river. The Battersea one, that is. And of course, it's been slated for so many things over the years. And then finally, I mean, the new Apple offices in London are opening there.
Yes.
And there's something else very big opening there that I've forgotten now that I was looking forward to. It wasn't one of the musical things, or was it?
Yeah.
But anyway,
We've got various venues inside now, I think. Yeah.
yeah, it's great to know that it is finally, after all these decades, actually being repurposed, and actually whatever the repurposing has happened really has happened. So, and I think I had some other clips. I've got a feeling maybe something went missing. Wasn't there some reference to McGree in?
Magritte was Antonia's gallery, so inspired by Magritte is a gallery that Antonia put together. Magritte, you probably remember from the man with the bowler hat that had an apple in front of his face, is probably his most well-known one. But she a surrealist, so she has been inspired by his work and then recreated totally new works that they're inspired from Magritte's work.
Inspired by Magritte's work, yeah. I love that. So I've always been into Magritte and Dali, and all the surrealists, with a few exceptions, oddly enough. But so see, this combination of the art and the music and the builds and everything coming together is a wonderful experience. It's not surprised we ended up almost with more than we could use here. So certainly I think a revisit sometime, taking in maybe some of the other galleries and other areas too. It's a big shame, maybe. But does Ellie ever go back to New Orleans to visit?
Well, I mean, lockdown and as sort of limited travel, especially with Japan, that has probably been locked down more than any other place in the world. And I think, as you said, it's almost gone back to the Edo period of locking up of Japan again. So, but hopefully she'll be able to get back out. But it does mean we have the challenge of time zones, as we all struggle with sometimes.
I know. I mean, that's how we came up to interview her, because I think sort of I forgot what it was. It was our bedtime. It was her breakfast or something. And, we just about did it because we are, of course, in Europe, so we could just about make that. But two less complementary time zones.
Just a big thank you to Ellen for taking the time to do it, because we had a few hiccups with technical problems with OS Grid, but a big hug to her and thank you very much for all her efforts that she made to make it happen. It was lovely to have a chat with her and really see the Sims through her eyes. It was delightful.
Absolutely, very much a joint venture there.
All right. So I'm just some things. What thing we haven't shown yet? Just a few of the pictures from the Halloween gifts. This was all from photos from Thirza this week in various places. These are mostly on her blog too. But as you can see, a few dancing skeletons there. This is back on Roland's sim again. We were just following him, wandering. All these are Thirza's animated gifts, and they work rather well as a sort of thing. There we are. There's that bloke with James's hat again. And is that Thirza riding on the back? I bet you it is.
Yes, that's me.
I got it. It's a bit pixelated, but yeah, you're the first on the back of Gandalf's trolley, I suppose. And yeah, isn't that a very, very Halloweeny one? Back in the cave there. Again, these are all just little gifts. And yep. That's the Hobbiton one rather. There we are with in the underground caves again. A few more dances from that other final bug. And guess who's dancing with the rabbits? In his hat.
The
Yes.
rabbits.
Whoa, those are really cool moves. Those are. Are they not?
I practiced for years and years to dance like that.
I can tell. I don't know about that. Oh, and the big bomb boom. Oh, and those wonderful unicorns. Yes, I think they were the previous thing. But anyway, that's the one we should go out with.
Thank you.
He's big, the Grim Reaper, and he's got a big Grim Reaper and a very small boat. And why on earth did you manage to, or how on earth did you get there?
Well, I rang a bell. It's the start of many a sad story in my life.
And who is escorting whom? That's my question.
Well, yes, quite. Are you actually going to be back here next week? I have to ask.
I don't know. Not if it's going to be a 2-hour show, no.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit worried there. Yes, we have had a mammoth show here, but on the other hand, I think we congratulate ourselves and Ernest and Ellie.
Especially Ernest. Thank you, Ernest, for putting up with us.
Well, we got an awful lot in one way or another into this show and into the feature part too. You know, the way we did it. So I think we have to call time on it. It has obviously been over 2 hours, I should think, by now. So thank you, Ernest, for being with us. And obviously Ellie couldn't be with us, but I'm no doubt she'll be watching this. So thank you, Ellie, as well, for you taking part as you did. And thanks to James for all the knob fiddling.
Yep.
And of course, special thanks to Thirza for being me.
Thank you very much now.
Giving my voice a rest, as it were. So we will be. I hope you've enjoyed it, folks. I really have too. It's gone like so quick, and mostly because we had all this stuff ready to go, and it makes a change from one of these shows that's unbearably short. So yeah, we will see you back here next week. We've got. What have we got slated for next week, Thirza? Can we dare tell people?
We've got Nick Spreen next week. Big art.
Big art. So we're back with the arts again next week. So a lot to. And Safari. Although do we know?
Yeah, we're going to see Nick Spreen there too.
Oh right. So well that would be easy. We'll do a Safari midweek. Same person on Inworld Review. That maybe mean it's more economical because the Safari Review will be the same as the guest, if you see what I mean.
Exactly.
So that will allow for us to have a slightly shorter show, which I think we probably need after a few weeks of long ones. Okay, so as I said, thanks to James, thanks to Thirza, thanks to Ernest, and thanks also to Ellie, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now. Oh, I was told that I've got to go out with my old catch line. So I'm going to wish you everybody a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening, or even a good tomorrow, depending on wherever and whenever you are. And it's going to take a bit of getting used to again, but I've remembered it.
All
So,
right. Bravo.
all right. Bye for now.